All right, all right. We are live. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Waterfed Wednesday, where we go beyond the bucket and dive into the world of waterfed cleaning and answer your questions about equipment, business, and our goal here is helping out window cleaners worldwide get the job done faster and safer. I'm Shawn Gavin, and today with me is Matt Garcia.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Matt is a local window cleaner here in our Colorado, Denver Front Range market. And he's also, as of today, an official Tucker outside sales rep. So stoked to have you on board. Matt brings a lot of experience from whether it's hot water window cleaning, like we're going to get in today, to high-rise rope work. So tons of different stuff. Patrick giving us a shout out with the best intro music. Yeah, I'm in between. Like I could listen to it for a long time, or I'm like it's got to go. I'm like one way or the other with that, but I do dig it as well. So today on the show here, we're gonna dive into hot water, pure water window cleaning. For many years, we've offered hot water, diesel-powered hot water systems, and a number of years ago, Matt bought one of those. So he brings a lot of experience there. But before we dive into it, I've got to do a bit of housekeeping here. Be sure to check out our previous episodes on YouTube. Like, subscribe us there, share it with your friends. Check out our Facebook page, which is RHG-Tucker Pole Systems, and the YouTube channel, as I said, is at Tucker_USA. And as a reminder, a couple more days left in the month of February here to save 20% on all filters and DI resin. So big savings there. Matt, tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into window cleaning.
Absolutely. So yeah, I've been doing window cleaning for over 11 years now. Started off in California. Was applying for jobs, had no idea what I wanted to do, and got called out for a job to do window cleaning. I was like, yeah, I can Windex, paper towel, I can do it. And they just kind of laughed at me and they're like, oh, we'll teach you the proper way. And being young and traveling to nice houses in Malibu, houses in Calabasas and things along those lines, I was like, hey, this is a fun job. And so got really loved it, got really excited about it. Fast forward, moved to Colorado and learned it's a little bit different out here. So got into luxury window cleaning. So doing really high-end homes and things along those lines. And then also worked for a company to learn high-rise for a little bit. So I figured it was good to be well-rounded and understand the whole industry. I didn't realize how wide I was spreading myself, but definitely it's a fun industry to be in and takes you places you never really realize. And the views, I mean, being on top of a roof, side of a building, things along those lines, especially Colorado, California. I mean, you can't complain.
No, man, that's cool. That's cool. I remember when I got into window cleaning, it was actually construction cleans. So kind of the same thing where I just needed work, and my buddy knew this lady that had a construction cleaning company, and I learned to clean windows from a construction cleaning aspect. So it was like the filthiest of the filthy. So it's, when people ask about like levels of cleanliness, like our chat we were just having about whether or not it's clean means you look at it nose to glass or from 10 feet away or whatever, it's always been an interesting perspective to me, because those were some of the most hammered windows to learn on was definitely the construction clean. Josh, who you've met Josh before, right? Josh is tuned in. He says, hey. Jamie Hallman, Michigan. Yo, Jamie. Jamie's a rep of ours as well. Solid people. So you touched a little bit on customer types you serve. So you're doing anywhere from high-rise rope work to high-end residential?
Yeah, we do a lot of just traditional residentials. I learned, I did the luxury for a long time, but also when I was out there in the field, I liked houses that were lived in. I liked being around the families, associating with customers, things along those lines. It's really fun, but as I ramp things back up, it's like you go where the calls are, and have an experience in luxury and construction as well. gives you a wide variety of different projects you can get into.
Nice, nice. We're going to run through some more questions here for Matt, but if you guys think of any questions, throw them our way. Mason, you won't know I'm here except the glow of my cigarette. I don't know, man. Pretty clear you're here. Thanks for coming, Mason. What equipment are you using now? Let's talk, traditional all the way through purification and water-fed pole stuff.
Absolutely. So traditional, I am a Sorbo fan. Love Sorbo. One of my coworkers let me use one time, and I was kind of hooked from then. So it's traditional Sorbo for sure. I use how do you say it? The bucket?
The Boab?
No, yeah, but
the Takaki?
Yeah, I said
okay, right on.
So I love that thing.
Cool.
I've tried it out, and it's definitely one of my favorites. And,
very nice.
So yeah, that thing is awesome. So I use that in the traditional sense, but when we go water fed, I actually built a custom trailer. So I bought a fill and go, tried to put it in the back of my cab, my truck, but it had a cover on it. And I was like, oh, didn't think about how tall it was. And so I started building out a trailer, and I was like, oh, I got a little bit more space on there. So we ended up getting the hot water setup. So I got a fill and go dual user with the hot water setup. And yeah, that thing is awesome. I love it. Days I don't have it, it's like, oh man, this is how I used to clean windows. This is a little bit harder.
Yeah, for sure. Hot water makes all the difference. It's a whole nother level of price point, as you know, but a lot of people think about it as a way to work in the winter. I don't necessarily think about it that way, and we can kind of dive into that a little bit here. But yeah, that Takaki Boab, I wish I had one in here, but those things are pretty slick. If you haven't seen that, Takaki is out of Japan, and I've been a fan for a long time. This guy hand makes these Boabs and pouches. Every one of them is individually made, right? Like there's not a huge facility there, kind of manufacturing from like an automation standpoint. He's doing the whole deal himself, and they're all really, really high end. Obviously super pricey compared to a traditional Boab, which you can get a plastic one for like 20 or 30 bucks or whatever. But yeah, definitely cool stuff. I think those are actually on sale right now on our website, Tucker USA, for 15% off. So check those out if you like them. It's a good time to grab one.
Absolutely. One of the things I love about it is how much water it holds.
Hey, there's one there.
There you go. But yeah, I love this
Thanks,
thing because
Alex.
it holds a ton of water. So I'm not running to the bucket. If I'm doing residentials, usually I put bare minimum in my bucket so I'm not spilling on anything.
Yeah.
This thing, I can climb on beds and I don't have to worry about it spilling. It's got a good lip on there. Even usually I use drop towels because a lot of my customers are very particular. So I use drop towels and things along those lines.
Yeah.
This thing catches all that extra water.
Yeah.
My Sorbo channels fit well. I can put a 22 in there, down to a 12-inch. That thing is pretty incredible.
Yeah, it holds wide bodies. It holds narrow channels. So any brand you could think of works in here. When we first got a sample from them, there was things I wanted to tweak. We sent out, I don't know, about a half a dozen of them and got some feedback back from end users. And one of the things that wasn't standard was the removable clip, right? So you can keep this on your belt and just unhook it. And one of the things that I really like about what they do is this internal isn't cloth, right? So a lot of these soft body Boabs, they're cloth and they hold up really well. I've no complaints or any real feedback or any of the other ones in terms of personal use, but this is actually has a plastic reservoir that they build everything around. All the cloth and all the soft stuff is built around this plastic reservoir. And to Matt's point, it's the volume it holds is massive. This squeegee channel holder is removable. So you can take these apart if you wanted to clean it up or whatever the case may be. I know he's got all kinds of different guys. Some guys just run with channels for some reason, so they'll strap this around their leg. But all this stuff is modular. And like I said, I mean, it just does a really good job with the quality of it. There's built-in pieces to protect the rubber from nicks and stuff like that. So all those things we tend to run into as traditional guys out there in the field. And we don't get into a lot of traditional stuff, But obviously, when we see stuff like that, we respect it and we want to promote it. And then he's got some pouches that he makes. These have the same clip system. There's a back pocket on it here. There's a zippered pouch, not necessarily waterproof, but made of like a really high quality ballistic nylon. So, guys will put, a huck towel in here, maybe in the zippered part, put a couple things they don't want to get loose, small scrapers, that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's been a really good seller for us, a nice little add-on. I don't want to get too far in the weeds on traditional, but I see there's some questions coming up from Mason. Before we read into those, you didn't touch on soap. What soap do you like?
I'm boring. I use Dawn dish soap.
Yeah, man.
Dawn Platinum if it's really dirty, and just regular Dawn if it's not.
Yeah.
Josh, I was actually talking to him. He's got some concoction. He's like, man, you try this, you'll never go back. So I'm interested in trying what he's got, but for a long time, I've just used Dawn. I mean, you can't really go wrong with it.
Yeah, I was a Dawn guy. I'll never forget when I went from the construction clean work in Colorado, we moved back to Atlanta because my wife got pregnant. We were like, oh, better go back to family, right? So we went back to Atlanta, and then I got into route work, just doing like, whole route centers and shopping centers. And the guy that was teaching me there, he had that Sorbo tripod bucket thing, right? So it's on like the triangle base and the bucket sitting in it, and he had the thing of Dawn, and he would put a strip of Dawn across the whole strip washer. I was like, what is going on here, man? That would last all day. But his thing was like, he was looking to make sure you from a training standpoint, you could see where you missed all the suds and stuff like that. So let's try and dive into some of Mason's questions here. How much does hot water speed up a one-time clean? So, we get this idea of, when you get into those non-maintenance cleans, from your perspective, what's been your experience on that level?
So for me, I'm very particular. So that's why I love the hot water setup, is the way I'm able to clean it. So usually I'll soak it in hot water first. So that's my favorite thing, is I go around, I'll just take the red hose, spray all the windows, soak it in hot water, and then I come back and I scrub it. I would say, honestly, I'm probably doing things about 25% faster with the hot water setup. And the big thing for me is, if I'm doing it nose on glass, I'm going to probably take a 1-inch blade and get every single little nick and things along those lines, which bug me, but some of the customers really don't mind that stuff as much. They care more about the interior. Some of the residentials care more about the interior than that section. But the nice part about the hot water is, if it's water-based paint, it dissolves it, depending on how much you scrub and things along those lines. But usually it definitely it takes a lot of that stuff off. I've even done construction cleans like that.
Nice. Yeah, the quality of the brush, bristles, those kinds of things all affect whether or not you can break that stuff down with the help of the hot water. Are there types of glass you can't use it on? I would say the primary application for this is dual pane, right? So you want to have an insulated dual pane glass window. I wouldn't use it on anything. What's up, Craig? Craig, awesome. Glad to have Craig here. I wouldn't use it on anything that was like a single pane, because you get this thermal shock, right? So what tends to happen is people think, okay, hot water, it's cold outside. I throw this hot water on glass. Now I'm going to break the glass. That's a concern if it's not a thermal pane unit, especially. But the way a thermal pane unit works, or an IG unit, right, which is in most houses, you've got two pieces of glass, they're sandwiched, and there's air in between. So let's say it's 20 degrees outside and it's 70 degrees in this house. The air inside there is somewhere in between, right? It's thermal, and there's air on both sides of it. So you're not really hitting it as 20-degree glass. If you remove the sandwich, the thermal aspect of it, and you just have the single pane, now you risk that shock, because you don't have that buffer for that air temp. So in all my days of using a hot water system, which once I built one for my own window cleaning business, that's all I used, I cracked one window. It's definitely a risk, right? Because let's say the installer chipped the edge of the glass and they put it in, and nothing ever happened. Well, you hit it with hot water, and that chip is the beginning of a stress point. So that can happen. I had it happen once on many thousands of windows that I cleaned. Have you ran into it yet?
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's very, very rare.
Yeah.
So that's something that, and I think temperature had to do with it, because I have done ones that I noticed that little chip, still cleaned it, everything was completely perfect. But yeah, there was definitely one right before Christmas time that got me, and it's like, oh man.
Yeah, I think the question about what doesn't it get off, I think the approach that I would still have is that it doesn't remove anything that's non-organic. Now, his real world experience is water-based paints are going to come off. Okay, so let's talk about why is it relevant if it's only going to get off the stuff that regular water is going to get off. It just cleans that much faster, right? So there's a lot of stuff that cold water will not get off unless you really scrub for a while. It's like a hot knife through butter in that sense compared to cold water. And it's the same reason why all of our dishwashers at the house are running on hot water, not cold, right? It just cleans better and faster. And finally, from Mason, I think this might be the last one. What percentage of your jobs do you currently use the hot water fed on?
Pretty much all of them.
Yeah.
Anytime I can bring it out, it's out.
Cool. Craig has got a question about, one more from Mason. How fast can you get the system rolling out at temp? Yeah, that's an interesting question. Specifically on yours, what's your experience been on the one we built?
Usually I'll turn it on and just go connect the hoses, start pulling out my hoses and things along those lines. And by the time I'm done with that, it's usually good to go. So yeah. I'd say maybe 10 minutes at most.
It just depends. I remember the first one that I'm going to give Alex a heads up. If we're rolling with questions and stuff, we'll go over so long as Alex is good with that and the admins are good with that. I'm not just on our time, but got some synergy here. So if we go over, I'm cool with it. The thing that I started with was there's this offshore on-demand propane hot water heater, and I want to say they were like $99 back in the day. You see them in the camping industry, but they're about shoulder width and maybe a foot and a half tall and pretty thin in the back, and it just has like a propane line that comes off and then an inlet and an outlet, and you can dial those up or down. I ran with those for a while, but what you find is that the pure water degrades the cheap metals that are inside pretty quick. Now, those are instant on demand. So cold water comes in, the flame heats it up, and boom, it comes out. The way these diesel-fired hot water heaters that we use work, and I believe they're on our website, the way that they work is they actually have a stainless steel bladder inside. So while you're working, it's keeping, let's say, 10 liters or so of water constantly hot. So it's not really on demand. It's not always on either. So you shut the hose off, you'll hear it run. The furnace will run to keep that to temp. And then if you open the hose, water comes out, cold water goes in that stainless steel bladder, and now it's dropped the temperature down to where it doesn't like it anymore and it kicks it on again. So the on-demand aspect is really a lot better than, say, a unit that doesn't have that sort of holding tank capacity. So that's what we found over the years too, is you got to find the right one. And that heater that we use is expensive because it comes out of the $1 million RV industry, or it's in yachts, right? It's diesel fired, and it's made to last, I would say the life of your business, frankly. You take care of it. It's like anything else we make. It's going to last you a really long time. Question from Craig. What is your coldest temperature you clean and clean with hot water? So how about we take it from Craig's in Ohio, if I recall, Cleveland area, maybe even. And he's hardcore, right?
Yeah.
Man, when I was cleaning windows, I wasn't reaching for that additive. There's no way I was adding. If it was freezing, I was out. So what's kind of your barometer in terms of like traditional regular cleaning? Like, where do you say, okay, I'm not going to work? And then what do you think about when you introduce the hot water? What does that do for you as far as that goes?
So usually when it's cold, I like to play it on the safe side. I did break a pane, so I like to be kind of just conservative on that end. And if it's cold in one section, sometimes it could be colder in basement windows, things. There's different variables on that. So usually on a traditional aspect, I clean probably at 90, 95 degrees. But when it's cold out, I'm probably using more warm water than hot water.
Yeah.
So I might I think the coldest I've ever done is about 29 degrees. So that's usually where I like to be on the safe side. I do think you can probably do it a little bit colder, but I like to be just on the safe side. Last thing I want to do is go walk up and go tell a customer we had an accident or something along those lines and shock something. But
Yeah. I think another thing to think about, and a lot of people don't really think about this when they think about, okay, well, I'll introduce this and now I can use it during freezing temps, is anywhere else you get water, it's going to freeze, right? So if you throw that hot water on the window, it's going to evaporate nice and quickly for you, right? You might get some water droplets at the bottom that freeze, right? All those droplets that kind of end up at the bottom, they may freeze up on you and they're going to have to melt on their own time and go away. They're pure because it's pure water. But if you're running an RODI system, where's your wastewater going, right? If it's going on a sidewalk, now you made an ice rink. Where's the water going from the brush when you're not on the glass, right? If you're the kind of operator that just has water going everywhere from window to window, everywhere it goes is going to turn to ice. So that's one of the things to really keep in mind, is it's not like a end all be all from that standpoint. Josh has got a question about upgrading a fill and go with hot water. You could speak to this because you started with the fill and go and added it on, right?
Yeah. So it's really not that hard. It's just it goes on after your filters. So your traditional ROs right there, and then you just run the hose to the hot water heater, and then run the separate hose right to your reel. So it's really it seems a lot harder than it is, but it's really not that bad. I think the biggest thing I didn't understand was, but you had to figure it out with the fill and go anyways, was batteries. How much batteries do I need? What do I need for this? How long is it going to stay charged? Things along those lines.
Yeah.
So I think that was one of my a little bit struggles at first, but I think I was just really overthinking it. As long as you got enough juice and you charge it when you need to and things along those lines, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, the hot water. Oh, there we go, right on the screen. Look at this. So basically, we build this out as a skid. You need to leave us a review. Look at that, no reviews. Yeah. So basically, we build this out as a skid. So the blue unit there in the photo is the heater. So this is the same footprint as a fill and go. So it gives you an idea. It's fairly large, right? Now the heater itself requires battery power, so you can wire it to your same battery as the fill and go to power it up. And then the tank behind it in the image there is a diesel tank, which I'd imagine that diesel tank lasts you quite a long time, right? Like the usage, I think, on one of these is so low. I mean, it's nominal. Like I said, these are coming out of the marine industry, where they're basically plumbing these to the diesel tanks on boats and yachts and that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, that's the unit right there. Anytime somebody wants to order one, there's obviously a lead time because these are custom. We don't keep them in stock. We just build them out as they're ordered. But it's got the same footprint as a fill and go there. So fairly good size unit.
Absolutely. My favorite part is how little it uses on gas. When I first got it, I had a diesel tank that I carried around thinking I needed to fill it up like a power washer, things along those lines. Yeah. Now I fill it up and honestly, I forget about it. When it runs out of gas, I'm like, oh man, we're out of gas.
Yeah, it lasts a long time. We're not putting anywhere near the demand that it's made for. So that's like anything we do. It's over-engineered. You can make a hot water system for a whole lot less. But we want to make sure that it's going to last you a very long time. And one of the other things is, right, Matt's point about the water's purified, then goes through the heater. Pure water will eat up a lot of those cheap metals that are in heaters. So that thing internally is all stainless. So it's a high-end unit. Question from Instagram: which brush is most effective for solar cleaning? Great question. We just released a new brush today for solar panel cleaning called the Honey Badger. Having a lot of fun keeping the followers kind of keeping up with us, right? Introduced the Glide a year ago. Everyone's catching up. Now it's the Honey Badger. It's got some Glide built in. But we're always testing stuff, right? The Badger, or the Honey Badger as we call it, does a really good job. The reports back are, guys are breaking down lichen on panels. We've got folks that are telling us, we can get the bee droppings off. That's how we threw the honey in there, and the Badger, the Honey Badger. So I would say give that brush a shot. It's our Glide bristles on the outside trim, and on the inside trim, it's a really stiff and rigid nylon bristle. So you're going to get like a really aggressive scrub. And I would say that's probably a decent brush for first-time cleans on windows as well. For the guys that are trying to get away from natural bore, where you get the shedding and you don't get the life out of your investment, check that out as well. But yeah, I think that Honey Badger range of brushes that we just released today is going to be a big hit. So watch for those in your inbox or wherever else. If you're not on our email list, certainly sign up. Let's see. Alex, throw up any more questions that you might see, but I'm going to work through some more of these. As we're thawing out from winter, how are you preparing for the upcoming cleaning season? So this past week, we've been seeing some 50s, some 60s. Try not to look too far ahead because things change here pretty quickly in Colorado. But where's your mindset as a window cleaning business owner in terms of the weather kind of changing and that kind of stuff?
So big thing I did is I touch on all of my past customers. So I love MailChimp. It's got a lot of data in there. So it'll tell you best times to send. It'll keep track of your analytics, so then you could improve your past conversions and things along those lines. So usually I start with MailChimp. That really works well. And it just reminds everybody like, hey, we're still here. And you'd be surprised how many people are like, oh yeah, hey, I know this person. I love the business. I want to reach out. And so that's my first touch. And then the second thing I like to do is I have House Call Pro. And inside of House Call Pro, they actually have a texting setup. So I can just go through and send a mass text to my customers just saying, hey, getting ready for the busy season, and let's get you on the schedule. And so a lot of times that'll drum up business today. It'll pre-schedule people, so then we can make tight routes, because I service kind of a wide area. And so the sooner I could get them on the schedule, I'm like, okay, hey, today we're in Loveland. Let's load up Loveland areas. Today we're in this area. Let's load it up down there. And it really just helps save on gas, be efficient, and get more jobs done in a day. Stop hanging out in this. We live in Colorado, so traffic's getting worse and worse. So the less you can spend time on traffic and the more on glass, the more you're going to make.
Yeah, that's an interesting point about stacking work in certain geographical areas, because a lot of guys will talk about what they make per hour, and they're talking about on the job, right? But if you've got a half-hour commute to the first gig, and then you've got a half hour to the next one, and I mean, really, if you work a 10-hour shift, right, and you made $600, that's $60 an hour. We should all be shooting for better than that, right? I mean, there's much better money to be made cleaning windows. So if you can stack those jobs in a much tighter route, that's going to get you that dollarly rate up quite a bit. Craig's got another question about the way that hot water system is set up. So it's heating after purification. Prior to purification or anywhere in that same kind of throwing hot water through there, membranes delaminate, resin doesn't like high temps. So there's a number of things that stop us from using hot water in the purification process. So this is purify, then heat, then deliver to the glass. All right, cool. I think we're up against the clock here. We're a little bit over. That was a great session. I do want to mention one more thing. We do have a Facebook group. I think I mentioned it earlier, RHG-Tucker, something like that. You can find it. Matt's got one going as well for contractors called Satisfying Home Services. I know there's a lot of groups out there, but some really good information on that going around in terms of that group specifically. One last question. Why can't I find the Phantom brush? So the Phantom brush, if you remember, was basically a boar bristle, natural boar bristle outside trim and a light DuPont nylon inside trim. Feedback was pretty good about those, but when we started introducing things like the Glide and now the Honey Badger, we're just getting into a whole lot better bristle configuration, outside the box thinking, and you'll see everyone's going to follow this, right? Tucker did DuPont for years and years, DuPont nylon, nobody cared, right? Aluminum poles, nobody cares. We buy Tucker, we get into carbon fiber, everyone knows DuPont, then boom, everyone has DuPont bristles, right? Then it was boar bristle. Now it's apparently the glide bristle. So things are just evolving. Follow us if you want to see where it's going. But the reason why the Phantom brush is not available anymore is because it was kind of the lower end of our sales spectrum on the brush range. And the other ones that we've come out with since overperform and outperform those brushes from that standpoint. So check out the Honey Badger if you're looking for a good manual brush for solar. What I mean, not hot water in the purification process. Does the heater heat the box the filtration is in, heating the chambers? No. That blue box is the heater. So the filtration is not in a box. There's a lot of ways for guys to put purification in a box. Actually saw a system at the IWCA show where somebody had built a purification in a toolbox. And, one of my guys was like, how do they service that? Right? How do you get your RO out? So I don't know. Maybe some of those aspects you could plumb an air heater into those. But no, it's a standalone unit in terms of the heater and that stuff. And Craig is definitely an old school Tucker guy. I love that he keeps it going. Much respect for that. I love the old school photos he puts out. He's been paying attention long enough to know what's up. So we're going to wrap it up. Great podcast today on hot water with Matt Garcia, my guest here from our local market, as well as a rep here at Tucker. So if you have any questions about Tucker products, hot water, roof safety systems with ropes, all that kind of stuff, think of Matt, reach out to him, check out that Facebook group I mentioned. And till next time, stay safe, everybody. Thanks a lot.
Appreciate you having us.